First scripture that I want is Deuteronomy 23 and 6. 23 and 6. You got that? Um, before you got any questions about anything?
No.
So this is the Brotherhood class. We had some technical difficulties. We'll be going into integration. We'll be going into some marriage and also obedience to the Lord. So these are some of the things we're going to go through. Um, so we're going to get into integration. Was integration, and if you in the truth, and if you've been following the Isupk for a minute, you know that integration is has not been a good thing for Black and Hispanic people. And I say Black and Hispanic people because if you could check, if anybody that's listening, I just want to make sure, can you hear me? You can put the live on and see if you hear me. But when it comes to Black and Hispanic people, we know that, we know when integration came about, Black people were at the forefront of integrating with white society. But of course, we good. Black people were at the forefront of integrating with white society. But of course, when Black people, however, the tribe of Judah moved, and because of slavery in our place in America, all the other tribes follow. So when Black people integrated, and when Black people said, "Hey, I think it might be good to try to get an education in a white neighborhood. I think it might be good to go to the restaurants in the white neighborhood. I think that'll be a good thing. I think we'll have better opportunities, right? Because a lot of times we think we have better opportunity. That's what integration is all about. But when Black people decided in the civil rights movement that they wanted to integrate, they wanted to be able to go to white schools. I think it was a Board versus Brown where they started to allow the first group of Black children to go to segregated schools, so in basically a white neighborhood. When Black people decided to do that, Hispanic people and Native Indian people also followed. They also thought that it'd be good to go to white schools, and you got a better chance of being successful, and you got a better chance of having a better education and basically having a good life being integrated versus being segregated, right? So, so we're going to go into a little bit of that, go into what the Bible say. If you could give me Deuteronomy 23:6.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 23, verse 6. Thou shalt not seek their peace, nor their prosperity all thy days forever.
So the Bible is very clear and precise with the rules and regulations that the Lord gave the children of Israel. And it's always been hard. Like even now, you see we're integrating. Well, back then, that's what Black and Hispanic people wanted to do. We wanted to look at those other nations, and we thought that the grass was greener on the other side. We looked at them. We thought that their gods was captivating, and we wanted to be like them. So this is not nothing new. Like, so the things that we go through today were happening back then. Black and Hispanic people just coming out of Egypt, seeing all the wonderful, great works of the Most High through Moses, turned around and wanted to be like the other nations. After seeing the mighty hand of the Lord bring them out of the house of bondage, which was Egypt, with all the plagues and all the wonders and signs, we still wanted to integrate into other societies and the nations that were round about us. Read it from the top.
God. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 23, verse 6. Thou shalt not seek their peace nor their prosperity all thy days forever.
So the Lord, so that's what in essence that's what integration is. That's in essence that's what Martin Luther King thought was a good thing for black people. It was seeking the peace of these other nations, seeking the peace of America, thinking that, if we integrate, they would be peaceful with us. And we can see that that never happened. Hell, when during the civil rights movement, they was beating the hell out of black and Hispanic people. They were just marching. They would come out with the water hoses and the dogs and sick them on them. Like we wanted to be a part of something with a people that didn't want anything to do with us. There's a real famous video where there was a black reporter that came to interview the white people in the South about black people integrating and starting to go to all white schools. And for a minute, white people talked to him, but before you know it, they was beating the hell out of that brother. I know a lot of people have seen this video. This brother, he just walking and they hitting him across the head and he ducking and he dodging and they kicking him in the back. And he came to seek their peace. He came to have an interview with them, right? To see what was their thoughts. Why is it that they feel the way they feel about black people coming to their schools? They didn't they didn't want to hear none of that, right? And so time and time again, we've sought the peace of another people when they don't want to deal with us like that, right? And that's what integration was. They didn't want to deal with black people like that. Black people would go in a peaceful manner, all humble, and sit in a restaurant. They call it a sit-in. Sit in a restaurant while white people is pouring ketchup and mustard on your head, and you just sitting there, all humble, non-violent, right? Trying to make the best impression that you can, but in essence, seeking their peace, right? In essence, right? Read it from the top again.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 23, verse 6. Thou shalt not seek their peace nor their prosperity all thy days forever.
Right, right. So we sought their peace and their prosperity. And what was the prosperity? The thought that our lives would be better when we get closer to white people. That's what integration really is, and that's how black people think today. Integration it's the thought that if I can get closer to white people, then I can be successful in my life. It's the thought that if I get closer to the so-called white man, I can get a better education. If I live in that neighborhood, right, then my life would be better. And that's such a backwards thing, a backwards way to think. Such a backwards way to think. Could you imagine us thinking like we could still have a good life while living around one another? It's possible. Hell, if you wasn't at the 53rd annual Passover, you probably wouldn't believe that it's possible, but it's definitely possible. I seen a post with a brother today that said, "Man, I wish I could go back to the Passover. That's what life is supposed to be like."
Right.
That's what life is supposed to be like. Every day is supposed to be a good day. Every day is supposed to be a positive day when Black and Hispanic and Native Indians come together and get together and live amongst one another. The problem is that we think that living amongst other nations, will make our lives better. The problem is that we think that getting successful and getting up out of the hood is what will make our lives better. And that is a product of integration, right? Read it from the top again.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 23, verse 6. Thou shalt not seek their peace nor their prosperity all thy days forever.
And so we done sought their peace, we done sought their prosperity, right? Even today. Now, before I say this, before anybody get upset, Black men do date outside of their race, particularly white women, far more than Black women. But everybody knows that Black women in modern times will will have the mindset of being with a white man is better. And why? Because you'll be taken care of. He has money, he has a good job. So if you can look at it from that way, or in the bigger picture, black people as a whole just think, if I live in a white neighborhood, the closer I am, the more friends I have, the more associates, the more networking I do with white people, I'm closer to being successful. And that's the basis of it all. Right here we see that the Lord is saying, don't do that. The Lord is saying, the Lord was against what Martin Luther King did. And even Martin Luther King realized at the end, he said, I feel I have integrated my people into a burning house. Right? I said this at camp. I said, you don't go, if you're leading your people, you're leading your family. Let's just say we're looking at the God's people as your family, as we should. If you're leading your family, you're not leading your family into a house or a dwelling that is on fire. You're trying to get away from it. But see, Martin Luther King realized that, and it was already done. He had already did all the fighting and the I Have a Dream speech. And then he realized, like, damn, that was a bad idea. And they also have an interview with Martin Luther King where they asked him about the dream. And he said the dream has become a nightmare. He said the dream has become a nightmare. Now, my question is, why they don't play that on, February, in the month of February, in Black History Month, when they like to play that I Have a Dream, and they have your children color pictures of Martin Luther King and read about his dream of little black boys holding little white girls' hands. Why they don't tell that part about what Martin Luther King said, right? The idea of integrating was against the Lord, and that's why 60, 70 years later today, it has not worked. That's why today Black and Hispanic people still are not equal. That's why today Black and Hispanic people, particularly Black people, are being treated worse than they were treated in the 60s with the police brutality, right? So where we at? That was it on that. You can drop that. You can drop that. So integration was not of the Lord, and that's why it wasn't successful, right? Give me Jeremiah 2:33. Like what I was saying earlier is that we feel it's a thought, it's psychological, because it's not something that Black people would say, but they think, like, if I can get in this white neighborhood, if I can get my son in this white school, if I can get me, a white man, then my life would be better. It's almost as though your life will be better if you're in close proximity to living around white people or having dealings with white people. And that's what integration basically taught us, because integration should have been about being, having an equal footing, being equal, equity. That's what it was. So that was what the drive was, right? But Black people, a small minority, integrated with white people, the majority, and the majority didn't even like you. So how was that going to turn out? It was doomed from the beginning. Just common sense will tell you, if you're a small group, let me put it this way: if you're a small group of people, right? Say you're the nerds in high school, right? I think everybody can relate. You're the group that is not popular in high school, and you want to start hanging with the group that is popular, which is usually the jocks, everybody that plays sports. How that's going to turn out? They gonna have you going through loops, right? You're never gonna be equal with them. They're gonna say, yeah, we good, we friends, but they gonna be pulling pranks. They're gonna be doing all kind of stuff to you, right? And laughing at you. That's basically what happened with integration. We as a people integrated with a people that didn't want to serve us food, didn't want to sit next to it. Like really think about it. Like common sense. Like I don't want to go eat from nobody that don't like me. Hell, I don't know what you're gonna do to my food. I don't want you to serve me. I don't want you to do nothing for me. I'll do it myself. And that should have been the mindset of Black people, which it was when Black people first got out of slavery. That's the thing that they don't tell you. The 40 acres and a mule thing. When black people got out of slavery, they wanted the United States government was going to give black people 40 acres and a quote unquote mule. And black people said, you know what? You can give it to us, but we want to go somewhere by ourselves. We don't want to have to live around white people. Like, why would you want to live around white people after they just had you enslaved? And that was the right mindset. Black people knew who their enemy was. And black people had the mindset that, listen, we don't really need anything. Just give us our land. In a few years, we'll be self-sufficient, right? Because black people had all the skills because they was doing every damn thing when they was in slavery. So that should have been the mindset. And that's the mindset black people had until about the 60s when Martin Luther King had a dream, right? A dream to, sleep with white women and, love white people and be treated equally. Well, yeah, you probably can sleep with them, but you ain't gonna get treated equally, right? We ain't never been equal in this place. And real equality would be something like what is it, like two companies. You got two big companies and they come together and they have a merger or whatever, and they both have an equal footing. Nobody steps on anybody's toes. Nobody does anything that cross each other. And that's completely the opposite of what happened with black and Hispanic people in the so-called white man. The white man is, since we integrated, he's put drugs in our community. Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian women have been coming up missing by the tens of thousands, right? Police brutality, poor health care, right? Poor education, all of these things. Not to mention the place, what is it called? Redlining, where they outline an area where they don't allow black people to move into, even if you got the money, right? So he's been doing all of these things against you after you integrated. So there's no way in hell that we could have ever been equal, right? Give me that. What I wanted, that was Jeremiah 2:33.
Oh, okay. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 2, verse 33. Why trimmest thou thy way to seek love?
The Bible says, why do you trim your ways to seek love, right? To get love from other people, to get love from people who are against the God of the Bible, right? We trimmed our ways. We changed our ways to seek love from America. We knew what it was, but we said, you know what? I'm going to put on a suit. I'm going to put on a tie. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to shave my face. I'm going to look like them to seek love, to seek, their admiration, for them to look at me and say, you know what? You're a good Negro. You're one of the good ones. I'm gonna give you a promotion. What's your name? Jackson? I'm gonna give you a promotion. You're one of the good ones. Come by my house later on. We'll have a cocktail. We have trimmed our ways to seek love from the so-called white man, and that's what integration was. We trimmed our ways. We got real Christian. We held hands and we got hit across the head with billy clubs, and dogs sicked on us, and sprayed with fire hydrants to show the so-called white man that we good Negroes, that we just want to be like you. We just want to walk next to you. We just want to hold hands and drink out the same water faucet. That's what we did, man. And the Lord never wanted that. The Lord always wanted us to be separate. Let me get the, hold that real quick. Let me get this scripture. Let me get this one. The Lord said that he cut us off from other people. He cut us off from all the other nations, because give me Leviticus 20 and 26. The Lord never wanted us to be integrated. What has happened in America is what happened in ancient Babylon. Ancient Babylon had all of the nations just like America. And all of the nations had their own gods, but there was one God that everybody had to worship in the time of Babylon, which was Nimrod. Well, America is the same. You can be Muslim, you can be Christian, Methodist, whatever you want to be. Islam, whatever you want to be, Buddhist, whatever you want to be, you can be it in America. You have that freedom of religion. But the base religion of America is white Jesus, Christianity, right? And now, over time, all the religions have become a different form of Christianity. Whether you're Buddhist, whether you a Muslim, whether you're Catholic, whatever the case may be. The reason why I say that is because nowadays you can. In ancient times, a religion was tied to a nationality, right? So Islam was what? It was the Arabs or Ishmael, right? The Moab and Ammon had their religions, and they were tied to a people. Nowadays, you'll find an Asian person that is a Muslim, or you'll find a black person that is a Buddhist, right? So really what it is basically it boils down to being a different form of Christianity where anybody can be, even the so-called Jewish man, the fake Jews with Judaism, anybody could follow the religion of Judaism, right? But as we know, the Lord didn't even give us a religion; He gave us law, statutes, and commandments, right? So you can't. This is being a real Jew is not like being a Christian. Being a real Jew is by blood, right? And through these prophecies, that's how you know you're a real Jew. You God's chosen people. You got that? Leviticus 20.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 20, verse 26. And ye shall be holy unto me, for I, the Lord, am holy.
The Lord said, ye shall be holy unto me, for I, the Lord, am holy. I'm separate from all of these gods, these false gods, and these idols, and this wood and stone that these other nations worship. Go ahead.
And have severed you from other people.
And have what?
And have severed you from other people.
The Lord said He severed Israel from other people. He severed. You know what severed means? What does severed mean?
To cut off.
To cut off, but severed means also to violently cut off. Meaning, a person gets in a car crash, and their arm is severed. Cut off. The Lord cut you off from the other nations. He severed us from other people. Like that was the plan. He didn't want us to, integrate. In our mind think that we were joining another people or actually begging another people, because that's what that whole civil rights movement was. And don't get me wrong when I say what I'm about to say. That whole civil rights movement was about begging another people to join them, and the Lord told us that He had severed us from other people. So I said, don't get me wrong, because the brothers and sisters in the civil rights movement, brothers and sisters before that time, those brothers and sisters didn't have the truth, but they were fighting for black people. They were pioneers, and they deserve that respect. So in no kind of way or shape or form I'm trying to disrespect the brothers and sisters that fought for black people or thought they were fighting for black people in their own ignorance. But this is what we should have been doing. We should have been saying, hey, we don't need them to survive. We don't need to come together with white people to survive. What we need is a nationality and a moral plan on how to govern our people. Now that plan is right here in the Bible, right? But it hasn't been known to the religious leaders and the political leaders in the Black and Hispanic community until the Isupk. And it has still yet to be implemented. And that's why we're on those street corners. You know how they say we yell in the streets and we angry black men? That's why we're on those street corners, to give our people law, statute, and commandments, to give our people direction, to give our people hope, so they don't have to hope that they can survive. They cannot survive unless they get closer and closer to proximity to white people, right? Read that one more time.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 20, verse 26. And ye shall be holy unto me, for I, the Lord, am holy. and have severed you from other people.
The Lord is holy, man. Holy. The word holy means to be separate. That's what they don't. That's what the Christian church has never taught black people. They taught black people that you got to have faith and you got to have, the Lord give you power and strength, and you can triumph over your enemies and all of that crap. But he never said, listen, the basis of this Bible is to be separate. This was only given to one people, and this people was supposed to be separate, set apart for the Most High, and not to deal with these other people like that. Now, when we say separate, because a lot of people will think that we mean that we're not dealing with the so-called white man or Arab or Asian at all. That's not the point. That's not what we're saying. When in the Isupk, when we say come out of America, or we say to be separate, we're saying stop following their ways, stop celebrating their holidays, stop doing the things that they do, and start doing the things that God says to do. Listen, you could be a God-fearing man or woman and still do business with other nations. You know what I'm saying? Whether you have a business, you sell products, or you buying, or you just working. Because having a job is providing a service to an employer. So if you're just doing that and your boss is a so-called white man, that's not what I'm talking about when I say separate. I'm talking about loving them, thinking like them, desiring, to do things like them, celebrating the holidays that they gave us. You got to put away those things. You got to find your culture. Our culture, we have the best culture there is on the planet Earth. You just got to tap into it, right? You get glimpses of it every day. The world loves you. The world copies you, follows you, and loves you, right? It's the saying, like, everybody want to be a nigga until it's time to really be a nigga, right? So they'll learn the dances, they'll do the TikTok stuff, they'll do all of that, but they ain't ready to go through the oppression in the things that you go through on a day-to-day basis, right? You could drop that. Give me let me see what I want real quick. Give me Zephaniah 2:1. This is a bedrock scripture of the UPK. Bedrock. Zephaniah 2:1.
Read.
Go ahead.
The book of Zephaniah, chapter 2, verse 1. Gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired.
We got to gather together. So you got a lot of economists, a lot of black leaders that are smart. They strategize plans and for how black people can get out of the poverty that they into, being that we're integrated, right? They have everything, every answer to how we could get fixed and how we can, get on top and get to our rightful place in America. But it's one thing that they lack, right? They lack the fact that we don't have an identity. They don't know that, right? And that's what keeps us from coming together, right? And our identity, us being the real Jews, is what we're trying to give to the world. We're trying to wake our brothers up tirelessly. You see brothers all over this nation doing the work to wake Black, Hispanic, Native, Indian people up, right? And so none of these problems can ever be fixed unless we gather together. And you just ask yourself, who are the people that are not desired on the planet Earth? It's not even rocket science. Like, you could really just think about it. Even if you're trying to act like you don't know, you will say, Black and brown people. Probably wouldn't be specific, but you'll say like Black and brown people. But really, when you really look at it, it's Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians that are not desired. It's Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians who are the people that were conquered, murdered, slaughtered, raped, robbed, denied the ability to practice, their religion or remember who they are. And there's nobody on the planet Earth like these people. Read it from the top again. This is like the Bible, the way the Bible was written, like you would have to just actually look into the earth and basically figure out. This is like a mathematical equation. Gather together, O nation not desired. Like you got to ask yourself, who are these people? Who's not desired on the planet Earth? Read it from the top.
Oh, God. The book of Zephaniah, chapter 2, verse 1. Gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired.
Gather together. And it's saying this 2,000 years ago. So what does this tell you? The same thing you see today was happening back then. You got black people that don't like Hispanic people. You got Hispanic people that don't like black people. You got Puerto Ricans that don't like niggas. Niggas don't like Puerto Ricans. It's all of this infighting between the 12 tribes of Israel, and nobody looks and says, look, we go through everything. Everything we go through is the same. We go through the same oppression, right? We die the same. We die the same by one another. We die the same by police, right? The so-called white man says the same thing about all of us, right? So why we don't get a clue? Why we don't get a hint? I was just listening to a Hispanic brother the other day. He had a song. I was like, man, this is slapping. I had to look because I thought it was a brother. I thought it was a Judite. It was an Isupk, right? And I'm like, damn, man, you can't tell us we ain't. You can't tell me we ain't the same people, right? But that's the burden of us going and raising up a nation. That's the burden of the brothers in the Isupk going out there and teaching Black and Hispanic people. This is you. This is your family. This is your brotherhood, right? Y'all been together this whole time in the same neighborhoods, fighting one another, not realizing you brothers from the same nation, just different tribes. Read it from the top.
The book of Zephaniah, chapter 2, verse 1. Gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired.
You got to come together, man. Instead of trying to link up with other nations, instead of trying to integrate, what the plan should have been is for all Black people to come together. Now, you know what integration did? It made us weaker, because at one time we was a big block of people. When integration came, now we're scattered. We're in this hood, we're in this neighborhood, we're in that neighborhood within the majority of white people. So we're scattered. So our power, we don't have the power that we could have if we was together. If we were one body, one spirit, one mind, one plan. You know, like that's the key. The key is for us to all be on the same accord. What is that? Give me that give me Ephesians 4:1, right? Ephesians 4:1. We should all be together, right? We should all have the same mindset. But now, because of integration, you got Black people that think this way over here. You got Black people that think that way. Hispanic people think this way. You got some Hispanic people that are diehard Donald Trump fans, right? There's like they against their own brothers. They like, well, they should have came over here legally. They should have got their papers. You got Black people like that. You got Black people that are diehard, ultra conservative. Talk, walk, move just like the so-called white man. You can't even tell the damn difference. The only difference is that they Black, right? But this is what happened. This is what integration did. It just weakened us, right? And it was against the Lord, because the Lord said he had severed us from other people. He didn't want us to integrate. He didn't want us to change our ways. He didn't want that. Go ahead, give me that.
The book of Ephesians, chapter 4, verse 1. I therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you that ye walk worthy of the vacation.
I think you might need to skip down to, I think it's verse 4. Ephesians 4:4.
Oh God. The book of Ephesians, chapter 4, verse 4. There is one body and one spirit.
There is what?
There is one body.
There is one body. Go ahead.
And one spirit.
And one spirit. Go ahead.
even as ye are called in one hope of your calling.
Keep going.
Verse 5, one Lord,
One Lord,
one faith,
one faith,
one baptism.
one baptism, meaning teaching. There is one body, right? And if we were one body, we would be unstoppable, man. If we had the same mindset, if all Black, Hispanic, Native Indian people knew that we're supposed to be serving the Lord and that the white man is not our friend.
Right.
He is not, he does not have our best interests at heart. If we knew that, then integration would have never succeeded. We never would have integrated, right? And there were people that were against Martin Luther King. There were people that were saying, listen, this is a bad plan. This is not a good idea. And like I said earlier, why in the hell would you want to integrate with somebody that don't want to be around you? Why would you want to go to a restaurant where they don't want to serve you? Wouldn't you think they'd be spitting in your food? Wouldn't you think they'd throw your hamburger on the ground and then put it back on the plate? I mean, that's what goes through my mind. I don't even like to be with somebody else if you go somewhere to eat and they talking, disrespectful or being funny to the waitress or to the person taking your order, because I'm like, man, listen, I don't want them to mess up my food because of the way you talking to them. Chill. You know what I'm saying? Let alone somebody that don't even want to serve you. I don't even care if I know you. If you got an attitude, if you got a problem with me, I don't want to eat nothing from you. You understand? So why in the hell would we want to go up under a people that don't want to deal with us? That is such a how can I say it? Like you lowered yourself so much. We lowered ourselves so much in being humble and put your head down and entreat and beg of people to actually be able to be around them. Like I just don't get it, right? I don't get it with that whole idea. And like I said, Martin Luther King didn't get it because afterwards he said, listen, the dream has become a nightmare, right? And that's what it has become. It's become a goddamn nightmare. Give me Jeremiah 17:4. Jeremiah 17:4. So what has happened after integration? What happened? What is the result? So now Black people make poor decisions. We have poor health. We hate one another. We selling drugs. Our women are, got OnlyFans and half naked on Instagram. What are some other things some of the things we just been destroyed since integration. Nothing has helped. We did greater things before integration. The first historical Black colleges were built before integration. Guess how many were built after integration? None. Why? Because we gave our power to another people. We're going to another people. And let me tell you what real integration would have been. Real integration would have been us coming in like the so-called Asian or the Asians, what is it, Ammon, or the Moabites. They have a Chinatown in every major city. They are not involved in America like that. You don't, far as I've seen, I've never seen Chinese people run to the voting polls and try to vote and try to be a part of America and invest it in what's going on in America. You don't really see them do that. But what you do see is they have all those damn beauty supply stores. They got all them damn donut shop stores. They got a foot in our community. They even they be making chicken, right? And they got all of those Chinatowns. They got their own bus services and all kind of things going on in all the major cities. And at one point in time, they was considered an enemy of the so-called white man. But what they got is a real actual foot and an economic base in America, unlike the children of the slaves. We don't got that. We don't have that to show. All we got is a lot of begging and a lot of hooping and hollering in Christianity and us killing one another. That's what we have to show for integrating with America and following Dr. Martin Luther King's so-called dream, where the Bible tell you about a man that dreamed. The Bible tell you about a prophet of deceit, a man that is not speaking what the Lord says, right? You got that?
Come on.
Give me that.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 2. Was it verse 2?
17:4.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 4. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave you.
So what happened? How did we get to the point where we were trimming our ways and trying to seek love for another people and saying maybe it's better to join them? Maybe it's better on that side. How did we get to that point? Well, that's what that scripture just said. Read it again, Jeremiah 17:4.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 4. And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage.
The Lord said we shall discontinue from our heritage. We would forget about who we are. That's what happened. The Lord said we would discontinue, meaning, you know, like you watch a program and it say to be continued. Well, the Lord said we would discontinue from our heritage. Our heritage of what? Of being priests of the Lord, of being a righteous, holy people, a separate people, being a people that knew that the Lord was on their side when we kept the law, statutes, and commandments, instead of being a people that did not know the Lord and thought our only hope was to get closer and integrate with white people. That's the whole problem right there. The whole problem with integration, the whole problem with black people today, the whole problem with black people yesterday is that we discontinue from our heritage. We don't know who the hell we are. That is the issue, right? Every people that have been troubled or went through something bounce back. And you know why they bounce back? Because they know their identity. They have a foundation. Black and Hispanic and Native Indian people don't have a foundation. You cannot have an army. You cannot be, a loving community. You cannot be a strong, powerful nation without an identity of who you are. That's the basis of everything. With all these other nations, that's what they have over you. So if you were to say, why is it that Arabs can come here, or East Indians can come to America, even Africans can come to America and rise above you? Why is that? Because they know who they are. They know who their God is, and they have a foundation within themselves. Black and Hispanic people don't even have that basic concept down. Yo, Christian pastor doesn't even have that basic concept down. Our identity is based in the clouds. What I mean by that, our identity is in, like, it's an idea, and it changes from day to day. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have a real true identity like these other nations. But if we did have that, then we wouldn't be able to, you wouldn't be able to fool Black and Hispanic people. You wouldn't be able to put things in front of them and they take the bait, right? Because we will work off of righteousness. We will work off of the law, statute, and commandments. We will work off of knowing that if I do this, then the Lord might not be with me, right? And I'm trying to do everything the right way. I'm trying to do it the way where if I do it, I ain't got nothing to worry about. So that's the difference between us and those other nations. They didn't discontinue from their heritage. A Nigerian can tell you who he is. He can tell you about his great-great-grandparents in Nigeria, right? An Asian man can tell you about his heritage. Everybody can tell you, even the so-called white man can tell you about his heritage. It's only Black and Hispanic and Native Indian where our heritage have been cut off. Like we have pieces, like the so-called Gadites or whatever, they had pieces of the heritage. The Mayans, the Incas, they had pieces of the heritage, but for the most part, we've been cut off from knowing that we're God's chosen people. We've been cut off from knowing that we are the sons and the daughters of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's who we descend from, right? The people who the whole world looks at, many religions have been built off of the patriarchs, right? And not realizing that these people are our forefathers. These great men that everybody talk about, the Bible, published in thousands of different languages, the most popular book on earth, and all of these people are eating off of it when it's really just about blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Those people that are in the ghettos, the barrios, the favelas, the reservations of North and South America.
Right.
Give me was that it on it? Read it one more time.
Okay. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 4. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee.
The Lord gave us that heritage, right? We would discontinue, but guess what? The Lord also reserved men. He reserved this truth, and it came from slaves, and it was formulated in 1969 in Harlem, New York, where this truth came back into the earth. And the Lord wanted everybody to remember, right? So yes, the Lord cut us off, but he also left an ensign. He also left a banner to be published, right? And that's the ISUPK since 1969 under Commanding General Yohana. We have been pushing this truth, man, bringing this truth back to the lost tribes of the house of Israel so that we can remember who we are. Because like the scriptures say, we was cut off, but now's the time for us to get our heritage back. Now's the time for us to pick that back up, pick up an identity. Listen, it's nothing like not knowing who you are. And I don't think a lot of us even realize before the truth. Like I don't really realize it. Now that I'm in the truth, I realize it. But before I was just going back and forth, researching Black history, hearing about this, researching Islam, wondering why is Black people in the condition they are in, wondering how did we get, why are we not, I know slavery happened a long time ago, but why are we not like rising up? Why are certain things only happening to us? And when I heard this truth, all of those questions were answered. Every question I ever had about Black people was answered when I learned the truth and the fact that we are God's chosen people. A lot of Black and Hispanic people have these same questions, right? And you'll be surprised. A lot of people have never heard of this truth. We think because, of the internet and, social media, that this truth, a lot of people have at least seen the video. I still come across people all the time that is like, this is my first time ever hearing about this. This is intriguing. This is interesting. I'm gonna look it up. So there's a lot of work to be done, right? There's a lot of work to be done. And everybody is not on the internet. Everybody ain't on social media. I think somebody needs to get I'm tongue-tied statistic, right, on how many people use social media versus people that don't. Because there's a lot of people, I think it's probably more people that don't use, I think social media is really just used by the younger crowd or what they call millennial. I think that's the majority of social media users. But the point is that everybody ain't on social media. So you can't reach the majority of people. You're going to have to hit them damn streets. You're going to have to get on them street corners and actually speak like the prophets of old did in order to reach people, right? What you got on that?
I'm gonna finish.
No, was that we still on Jeremiah, right?
Go.
You can drop that. Give me what I want, Hosea 4 and 6. Hosea 4 and 6.
Read.
1 second, 1 second. Go ahead, read.
The book of Hosea, chapter 4, verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God. I will also forget thy children.
So the Lord said, Salaki, I'm reading his comments. Read it from the top again. Salaki on that.
The book of Hosea, chapter 4, verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
So we're destroyed. I just spoke about that. We're destroyed for a lack of knowledge, right? A lot of times when I see brothers fighting each other and I see brothers gang banging, like we were just at camp last week, brothers got into it. They was trying to fight. Then they went to the car to pull out pistols, and I said, brothers is just destroyed. You can't look at brothers and blame them. Like, I don't look at Israel and blame them for being the way they are. I don't look at a drug dealer or a crackhead for and blame them for the way they are. You know what I mean?
Right.
I can only blame a man or a woman for what they're doing after they've heard this truth. The vast majority of our people are Christian. Then after that is Muslim, Nation of Islam, and they're selling drugs. They're doing drugs. They're whoring. They're sleeping with other men's wives. They're doing all of the things that people in the so-called world do, right? But they're all destroyed for a lack of knowledge. That is the key. Read it from the top.
Okay. The book of Hosea, chapter 4, verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee.
And because we reject knowledge, we, Black and Hispanic people, we are hard-headed people. And like I said, when we came out of Egypt, our people seen those signs. The Israelites seen those wonders that the Lord did during the time with Moses in Egypt, and those plagues he brought on Egypt. And they got into the wilderness and they started to murmur against Moses. They started to rebel against Moses, basically rebelling against the Most High. That's what it really was, right? Because it's something in us that we reject, the Most High. Even now, even in these days, like, no one can deny what we are saying is the truth. No one can deny if I tell you that, listen, brother, you shouldn't be trying to sleep with no other man's woman. That's off, brother. You're gonna end up, what's gonna end up happening? You're gonna end up getting hurt, or you gonna end up getting killed, or he gonna end up getting killed. That's right. But we don't want to hear that. We reject that. You know what I'm saying? We reject what is right. Right? And the Lord said it right here. We die for a lack of knowledge, but also we reject knowledge. We would rather live in pleasure than accept righteousness, or we would rather die getting our pleasure than live accepting righteous rules and righteous laws. You tell a sister, listen, you should be dressing this way. That's not acceptable. You need to put some clothes on, and it could be right, and she'll reject you. So Black and Hispanic people hate what we say, and it's not because of what we say is us. It's the Most High. So really, the problem is that God's people are hard-headed. They're stiff-necked people, and they hate God. Right? The problem is not with us; it's with the Most High. And He said, "Listen, you die because of that. You die from a lack of knowledge because you reject knowledge." Read it from the top.
Oh, God. The book of Hosea, chapter 4, verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God.
Seeing that the Lord said, "I'm gonna reject you." That's cold. To be rejected by the Lord. And you know what that rejection is? That rejection was slavery. That rejection was Jim Crow. That rejection was police brutality. That rejection was Ronald Reagan putting crack cocaine in our neighborhoods. That rejection was George Floyd. That rejection is the Lord spitting you out and rejecting you because you refuse as a people to listen to the law of the Lord. Is that it on it?
Wow.
Go ahead.
That thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children.
I will also forget thy children. He said, you forgot the law of the Lord. I also will forget thy children. Who is the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Who's the children of those Israelites that were in the wilderness when they rebelled against Moses? Who is the children of those Israelites that rebelled and were sent into captivity in ancient Babylon? It's Black and Hispanic people today in America, in North and South America, scattered in Europe, scattered in different places to the four corners of the earth, and always, always at the bottom of the barrel, wherever you find us, always, always suffering oppression, always, always dismayed or astonished at the way we getting treated by white supremacy, because we rejected the Lord. And He said, listen, this is what's going to happen to your children. I'm going to reject them. I'm not going to be there for them. Basically, that's what He's saying. I'm not going to be there for them to call on me when I won't be found when they call on me, right? I will reject them. Is that it on it?
Come on.
Okay, you can drop that. So what was, give me the word, give me assimilation, assimilation, right? Give me assimilation, because it's commonly thought that Black people integrated during the civil rights movement, but what we really did was assimilate, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. But we need to get the definition of assimilation.
How do I spell it?
A-S-S-I-L, Salakia. A-S-S-I, assimilate. A-S-S-I, man, I was in the spelling. I grew up in spelling bees. A-S-S-I-M-I-L.
I got it.
Yeah, I grew up, Salakia. I grew up in Black History bees, spelling bees, all kind of spelling bees. Go ahead. Let me know when you got it. Give me the Webster's.
Okay.
Let me know when you got it.
So it was.
You don't got the thing where you could just say it? You got it.
Nah, every time I
Here, let me get it for you.
definition of assimilate.
Let me get it for you. Here, I got it for you.
Every time I Google something.
Bear with us.
The Merriam-Webster definition of assimilate: to take into the mind and thoroughly understand, to take in and utilize as nourishment, to absorb into the system.
To what?
Read it all over again.
How many are there?
Two. But
Okay.
there's two parts to
All
each
right.
one.
Go ahead. Go ahead, read it.
To take into mind and thoroughly understand, to take in and utilize as nourishment, to absorb into the system,
Mhm.
to absorb into the cultural tradition of a population or group.
To absorb into the cultural tradition of a population or a group, right? That's what black people did. Like I said earlier, integration would have been us coming together, kind of like two companies in a merger, right? With an equal footing. Integration would have been more like equality. But what we actually did was assimilate. We absorbed the culture of America, right? We fit in and we absorbed the ideas, the philosophies. We started to think like them. We started to look like them. We started to believe like them as far as, religion. So that's what we actually did. We assimilated, we didn't integrate, right? Because at this point in time, we're still not equal. At this point in time, we still get treated differently. You still have, they just had one, the Supreme Court Justice, the black woman. You still have them, hiring the first black person of this, the first Hispanic person of this. So no way in hell did we actually integrate or were equal. We assimilated into America and basically trimmed our ways. Meaning when we came together with America, we started to get further and further away from the Most High. We actually were closer to the Most High when we were in chains in slavery. But when we started to take on their ways, started to think like them, started to believe like them, started to hate one another like them, started to kill one another like them, started to be pimps and whores like them, started to be drug dealers like them, we got further and further away from the Most High. And like I said, the so called white man was the first mobster, the first gangbanger. It's documented. He did the first drive-by, shooting at some brothers from a car in East St. Louis. That was the white man. You thought drive-bys came from Boys in the Hood. You thought black people did drive-by. No, the white man did the first drive-by. I'm sure you heard of Al Capone. I'm sure you heard of those mobsters, those Italian mobsters that did drive-bys, right? He did the first gang executions. The so-called white woman was the first whore and porn star. She was the first video vixen, right? And I know you look at black and Hispanic women like they are, the whores of the planet because nowadays you see they just half naked everywhere on Instagram, on magazines and everywhere. But the white woman was the first. She's the first to wear a bikini. Y'all didn't know that in 1940s. That's when the bikini came out, right? And they started being half naked on the beach. That's where you see black and Hispanic women do that today. That's where they get it from. That's who started it, right? That's who started it. Well, these people were the first to do all of these evil things, right? Ronald Reagan was the first to put crack cocaine in South Central Los Angeles. That was the first duffel bag boy. That was the first major drug dealer. United States government, white man. That's who was smuggling drugs and selling them. They were the first, right? And so we looked at these things and we assimilated into a culture of people or the so-called devil that the Bible speaks of. And now we have taken on all of those ways and got further and further away from the Lord, right? Oh, let me not forget the most important. The so-called white man was the first Christian, right? And he founded this country on Christianity while having you, black people as slaves while killing 77 million Native American Indians, while taking the Mexicans, our brothers, the Aztec Indians, and in burning them at the stake and hanging their women upside down and cutting the babies out of their stomach in the name of Catholicism, in the name of white Jesus and Christianity. And now you have taken on that same religion, and now you in the church banging a tambourine, or what you call those things? Yeah, whatever they call tambourine in the LGBTQ. Now you in the church molesting someone's daughter. Now the pastor in the church is sleeping with another man's wife. And you see how easy that is to put that together? You take on the customs and you absorb yourself into the culture of a greater society. And that's what God's chosen people have done. You didn't integrate, you assimilated to your destruction. And because of that, the Lord said, I will reject you. But there's hope. There's some hope on the horizon, right? Some rough black and Hispanic niggas. You might not like how they look. You might not even like how they speak. But what they speak is the truth. What we speak is the God honest truth that can save your life, change your life, and fix your family, right? If you could give me Deuteronomy 22, what I want. Deuteronomy 22. I'm gonna switch up the subject. I'm gonna go into what is a little bit about marriage. I think it is Deuteronomy 22 and 6. Let me see. I'll get it real quick. Bear with us. We'll get it. Give me Deuteronomy 22 and 16.
Okay.
Give me that.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 22, verse 16. And the damsel's father shall say unto the elders, I gave my daughter unto this man to wife, and he hated her.
So, like, that's not what I want. Let me see. I'll find it. What I want is if a man, so like if a man entice a woman, (22:16). Salaki, Exodus. I had it right. I had the wrong Exodus.
Exodus 22:16.
Yeah, give me that.
The book of Exodus, chapter 22, verse 16. And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife.
Right. So if a man, so you hear this a lot. You hear this in the truth, like sex is marriage, right? And because we assimilated into the society, we think how they think, right? And so black men, black women think that marriage is a man bending down on one knee and opening up a little thing with a ring, putting a ring on a woman's finger, right? I don't think it used to be that before, but after Beyonce, it's like put a ring on it, put a ring on it. So we look at it in our community as though marriage is a man putting a ring on it. Problem is that our marriages don't last in America, right? I believe that the figure might be 40% of black marriages are over before they even begin, right? So we put a big emphasis on a ring and we put a big emphasis on a ceremony, and not realizing that when a man and a woman have sexual intercourse, according to the Bible, that's what consummates a marriage, not a ring. And why do we believe that, a ring is what makes a marriage, or, even what they call it, the papers, the marriage papers, the paperwork is what makes a man and a woman married. Why do we believe that? Well, we believe that because we think like Europeans. We think like the so-called white man. And where does his custom of marriage come from? It comes from Rome, right? So let me. I want you to just Google Roman marriage. Google Roman marriage. In fact, here you can read this because I already got it up. You don't have to Google it. I want you to read that, and anybody can do this at home. You just Google Roman marriage, and I want to show you something. According to the Bible, if a man entices, what we just read, if a man entice a woman, meaning entice means you see a woman and hey, how you doing? Like, what's your name? You entice her, you start talking to her, y'all have a good conversation. She's feeling you or whatever, you know what I mean? And y'all start to see each other or whatever. And then, you lay down with that woman. I mean, you have sexual intercourse. She now becomes your wife according to the law. You understand? According to the Bible, you know what I'm saying? But in this society, people are taught to lay with people and treat that as though you're testing out cars. Like you at a car lot, and you're just going on test drives. That's how people treat sexual relationships in America. That's how Black and Hispanic people have come to be in America. Whereas we just going through people, Black men, Black women, whatever the case may be. It's miles on that thing. That the speedometer got hundreds of thousands of miles because no one has never taught you, and you never heard this in the Christian church. Even the pastor will tell you that if one relationship ain't working, go to another one, right? Well, that's not what the Bible say. And another thing, there's no such thing as boyfriend and girlfriend in the Bible. Um, Go ahead and read that for me.
Roman marriage. Marriage in ancient Rome, connubium, was a strictly monogamous institution.
It says marriage in ancient Rome was a strictly monogamous institution. Strictly, right? You know why? Because the Romans like little boys, right? And they only wanted you to have one wife. And at the time, the Israelites were there, and it's common, very, very common practice in the old world. They call this the New World. And the New World is basically North and South America, the Western Hemisphere. But in the old world, back east, all of the ancient customs and the ancient nations, having more than one wife was normal, right? It was it was just like as normal as being monogamous is today. Go ahead and read.
Was a strictly monogamous institution.
Mm-hmm.
A Roman citizen by law could only have one spouse at a time.
So a Roman citizen by law could only have one spouse at a time. This is Rome, and this is where America gets their government from. Go ahead.
The practice of monogamy distinguished the Greeks and Romans from other ancient civilizations.
It says the practice of monogamy distinguished, meaning separated the Greeks and the Romans from other ancient civilizations, meaning they were the first to do this, to put it in law that you could only be with one woman. Go ahead.
In, which distinguished the Greeks and Romans from other ancient civilizations, in which elite males typically had multiple wives.
Is that it on it?
Okay.
So they distinguished. They basically said this is a law, and listen, this is what you got. This is how you got to live. I think even in China they have a law where I think you can't have more than two kids. It's some rule that it's either they have it now or in present times, or it was um, in the early 1900s, where in China you could not have a big family. You had to only have like one or two children, right? Maybe somebody can look that up for me, but the point of what I'm saying is why we think about how we think about marriage and we think about monogamy and we think about what is marriage. Well, a lot of that comes from it all comes from the so-called white man, but you got to understand who his forefathers is as far as the religion and the government, and that would be ancient Rome and ancient Greece. And we just read it. You could just Google that. You don't have to do any deep research to see that. I mean, their thoughts on monogamy, on a man having more than one woman, and all of that, and how they put those things into their law. So, but according to the Bible, to have sexual intercourse with a woman is what consummates you being married to her. Uh, these customs, as far as a ring and a lot of the customs, now don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with a ceremony, a marriage ceremony. That's good. That's cool. If that's what you want to do it. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just showing you that we take on the culture without actually knowing our culture, right? We have assimilated into a culture that is contrary to what our culture is. If you is that eight on it?
Come on, come on.
And where was he at? We were at we were in Exodus 22.
Come on, come on. This is 22 and 16.
Because for time's sake, I'm not going to elaborate that much more on that. I'm gonna drop that, right? I wanted to get into obedience. So what I'm gonna do is, we're not going to get to scripture, but what I wanted to talk about is Saul. So Saul was given a commandment, right? Saul was given a commandment to go into a city of the Amalekites, right? Amalek, and kill everything. He got an order through Samuel from the Lord to go in there and kill everything. And so Saul killed everything, but he left the best sheep, and he left the King Agag. He left the king alive also. He didn't complete the order, right? He was told to do something, he didn't complete it, right? So when he was asked about why he didn't complete it, he said, well, he left the best sheep to, you know, give them, sacrifice them to the Lord, right? And he thought it would be a good idea. Well, because of that, King Saul was the king of Israel, and because of that, the Lord took the kingdom from him, and he gave it to a man, a better man, a young man who as King David, who would become King David. And so the point is that he thought that sacrificing something would please the Lord. Said, I didn't complete the order, but I got these sheep, and they without blemish, they're beautiful sheep. And I thought that, I'm gonna sacrifice them to him, and the Lord gonna be well pleased, right? Well, the Lord wasn't pleased. He said, you know what? Because you didn't complete the order, you didn't obey everything that I said, I'm gonna take the kingdom from you, and I'm gonna give it to another man. The point of the matter is that obedience is better than sacrifice, right? Obedience is better than sacrifice. And Black and Hispanic people, we think that, us, giving up prayers and going to Christian church and falling out and wearing a Christian cross and kissing it and, saying, your little things you say to God is what pleases the Lord. When he wants you to obey, to keep those commandments, that is more important to the Lord than any of the things that you got going on or you think that pleases him in your own silly mind. You see, because the Lord is not a man. His ways ain't our ways. So what he's asking is for us to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. Now, these things are not grievous. What I'm saying is they're not, to keep the law, statutes, and commandments is not hard. It's not painful. It's not grueling. It's not going to kill you. You know what I mean? I know when you're in the world, you think that just coming to church is going to kill you. But to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, it's not hard, right? So I'm going to end with that for Israel. to keep the law, statute, and commandments, right? Because you may be thinking that you're serving the Lord. You may be thinking that the Lord is pleased with you, and the Lord could just take something away from you that you love dearly. Obedience is better than sacrifice. And with that, I'm gonna pass the class. Well, Salaki, with that, that's the end of the class.